Hey y'all, welcome back to Mirror Expressions. And today I want to do things a little different. I just went to see the movie Nope. And y'all, we got to talk about it. We have to talk about it. Like, this movie was absolutely awesome. Like, if you are an analytical thinker like I am, oh, this is just brilliant. This is like a dream come true. So, we're gonna discuss like the little nuggets and golden eggs throughout the movies that I've noticed. And then I want y'all to drop in the comments because I'm sure there were things that I did not pick up on, or there are several things that you could look at differently. So I want y'all to give me your perspective. I'm going to share with you mine. So just know that this is a spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen the movie and you don't want to know about it, go ahead and click off right now because this is not going to be a recap or a review like other than to say I love it, but it's just to kind of go, well, I guess it will be more of a review, I guess, but not a recap. Like, we're not going to discuss the whole movie in its entirety and like how it follows from beginning to end, but I just want to discuss those little gems and things that, you know, you really had to just pick up on because like even when I got back to the house after seeing it, I'm still like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Oh, that's what that meant, so yeah, good. So yeah, let's go ahead and just dive right in, y'all. I'm telling you, I've made so many notes because I was just like, look, you know what? I gotta take this to my YouTube family. We gonna have to talk about this because it was so awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna say the overarching thing was like respect, right? Uh, and that's just to me was like, even though it has so many meanings, like a respect of persons or respect of other beings, like your animals or these other entities, um, a respect of culture, like in Hollywood, like the color of people and how they are looked at within Hollywood. Um, so yeah, that was like the biggest thing, just respect for me. That was like the overarching thing, okay? Um, and don't look it in the eye. You gotta remember that, y'all. Do not look it in the eye. And they just kind of went along with so many things too. So if you have not seen it and you're gonna continue with this, even though you know it's a spoiler alert, or if you're just gonna cut off right now, the only thing I can tell you is everything connects. Like, even when you think it doesn't, it does. Okay, that's all I got to say. So okay, let's just dive right in. So I'm just gonna go from my notes. So it may be a little jumpy and all over the place, but that's because, like I said, y'all, I was just thinking. I was like, wait a minute. I'm drawing different conclusions, and as I'm doing that, I'm like making more notes, and I was like, okay, so let's see. The first thing I got down is, um, oh, Jupe surviving the chimpanzees attack, right? I think because it's kind of like it's never said clearly how he was able to survive, and just going along with some of the things that were said or done in the movie. I think that, or okay, let me just go back. Remember, I said don't look it in the eye, right? I think that was part of it because if you remember, there was like a shoe that was standing up in the scene where Gordy kind of just goes ape shit crazy, basically. um, there's a shoe standing up, right? And it's just standing up. Like, how is that happening? But when Jupe was afraid, he was under the table and he was staring at the shoe. So he was not looking the chimpanzee in the eye, right? Okay, y'all. So I think that was part of it, right? He wasn't looking him in the eye. And then even when the chimpanzee finally noticed Jupe under the table, we get the shot of how Jupe saw the chimpanzee, and there was the tablecloth hanging over the table because he was under the table, y'all. And so the tablecloth was like this. And so he was kind of looking through the tablecloth. So again, he wasn't looking the chimpanzee directly in the eye. Like the tablecloth was kind of shielding that direct eye-to-eye contact. And so when the chimpanzee came over there, because the chimpanzee did see him, but again, he wasn't able to look him straight in the eye. And so one thing that was said is like these type of beings are territorial, they're predators. And so by Jupe not being able to look him in the eye, you know, he wasn't trying to put his dominance out there, or so what the animal would assume would be him putting out his dominance, because he couldn't see him in the eye, right? So the chimpanzee came over there instead and gave him a fist bump because that had been their thing in the past. And so I think that was why Jupe was able to survive the massacre, you know. Also, though, within that, with him surviving the massacre, I think that gave Jupe a false sense of security. Like, I think Jupe saw that differently. I think Jupe felt like he had something special, and that was why the chimpanzee did not come and get him. He didn't realize that, no, he just wasn't able to look him in the eye and try to put out dominance over the chimpanzee versus the chimpanzee putting out his dominance, right? I believe Jupe just felt like there was something special about him. He could tame this animal, right? And so in turn, as Jupe grew older and he came into contact with this this UAP or UFO, whichever one you want to call it, or this entity, he felt like he could tame it. Like he had that false sense of security from that incident over this animal or beast, as you want to call it, that had just went crazy, but then didn't end up hurting him out of all the people it hurt, you know. So I think that gave him that false sense of security. And with that, he carried that on to how he tried to tame the UAP, right? And extract his dominance over there, but it ended up failing in the end, right? We all know that because he wasn't respecting the entity, right? He was using it as a way to gain financial status, right? And so it was just like using the entity as a spectacle and not respecting it. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Okay. Anyways, remember, y'all let me know what y'all think. Because, like I said, again, these are just the things that I kind of gleaned from it and my aspect of things. So, but that's how I kind of saw that whole situation. And that was, and that's why I think that was the reason why Jupe ended up getting killed by the entity. You know, because in the end, he wasn't showing it respect. You know, he didn't realize his place in that situation. That's the better way to say it. He didn't realize his place. You know, like I said, he had that false sense of security because he thought he had power over the entity. And instead, no, the entity had power over him, right? So, okay. Let me see. Okay. Let's see. The reason, okay, so next thing I kind of put down was why at the Lasso event that the entity, the UAP, ended up killing all the spectators, right? And I said, I think it was because, you know, a couple of things were happening. It was set up for them to be viewed, or them to view the entity, when in turn the entity was really viewing them, right? So catch that. And so, you know, Jupe had been practicing for that moment. Like he had been feeding the entity the horses that he had bought from OJ, right? And because you remember when OJ started noticing the entity in the sky, and then he would see the lights, like it would be like a cluster of lights. That was Juke's place, and that was him practicing the show, because you could kind of hear him saying blah blah blah, and so that was him practicing the show. And I think things fell in this moment, because whereas he was feeding the entity the horses, well, Lucky wasn't going. He didn't come out the box. And right, so usually the horses would come out the box and run away, and then the entity would pick up the horses, right, and suck them up, or bring them up to the mouth, or I don't know what you want to call it, the eye, the mouth. We just gonna say the opening, right? So the entity would usually open up, zap them up through the opening, and eat them and all that. Well, Lucky, on this particular occasion, which was an opening night, right, Lucky wasn't having none of that. And so Lucky didn't even leave out the box. So that in turn allowed the entity to come closer to where the spectators were, right? So they watching it, and it's really watching them. So they all looking it in the eye, right? And what are you not supposed to do? You're not supposed to look it in the eye. So you looking in the eye, you fall weak, and that thing just gonna, and that's sure enough what happened. It got all of them, right? And so that was also why OJ was able to be saved in that moment. He did get knocked out, but he didn't look the thing in his eye, right? And so, oh, y'all, and can we just say how spectacular, like, oh my gosh, this movie was just awesome. Like, even just the, I guess you want to say the cinematographies, I don't know, but just the camera work. How about I say that? Because I don't know all the language and terminology. I'm not going to act like I do. But the camera work, so just to see the people in the belly, or let's just say the GI, because we don't know if it's the belly, the throat, or what. Just the GI system of that entity, right? Oh my gosh, y'all. That was just eerily spooky. Like, it was so simple, but so eerily spooky at the same time. I mean, it was just awesome. And then the fact that we never really got to see what happened. I love how Jordan Peele he does this with with his other previous two movies, but he leaves a lot in an ambiguous universe, like for us to kind of glean and put our own context clues together and just guess. I love that, because people gonna come up with all kinds of things, and fair enough, it could all be true. Don't nobody know but him and his head, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, yeah, he never really shows what happens, but of course, we get the idea that they're eating, because then when the entity comes to rest over OJ, let's just say the Haywood farm, all the blood and the metal stuff that it's not digestible just got spat out, all over the house, like the coins and all of that or whatever. So, but I just thought that was cool. But yeah, I think that was how the people end up coming to their demise when they were at the lasso event, right? And then speaking of Lucky, I think it was significant that they named the horse Lucky, right? Because I don't know if you all remember at the very beginning of the movie when OJ was on the set, and somebody asked him, well, the horse's name is Lucky, and they was like, well, is he lucky? Well, as we find out toward the end of the movie, Lucky the only one survived, right? And there's gonna be another tie-in to the name Lucky. I'll get to that in a minute, right? But I just thought that was a significant thing. Like, all things had significance to me, really, so but that was one thing about that particular horse and his name being Lucky, right? Um, let's see, what else do I have? Okay, I already talked about the people in the GI system. Oh, okay. So let's talk about the ending, y'all. Okay, this is the other tie-in to Lucky, right? So we get at the ending, M or Emerald, you know, she finally got her Oprah shot of the alien, right? The UFO. And well, you know what? Let's stop calling it a UFO, right? Because we know it was not a ship, right? It ended up being a living entity, right? So they start saying UAP, so we gonna say UAP, or either I just say entity. But anyway, so at the end, we see her like blinking real hard and then opening her eyes like, you know, is that really my brother there? Okay, so it goes to say, well, is he alive or is he not alive? You know what I'm saying? And so that was the big question. And I kind of feel like both ways. I think, you know, again, the ambiguity of it all, it just leaves it so open for your own interpretation. But part of me feels like that OJ and Lucky did not make it because, you know, yeah, he's there, but it could have been an aberration. They show him there on a horse, but it could have been an aberration because when she first kind of opened her eyes originally, there were a lot of people standing there, like people with their cameras, you know, like reporters and stuff, trying to catch what was going on and all that. And then when she stood up and she blinked real hard and on, then she opened it. The next time, then that's when we see OJ and Lucky, right? And so it was like, where did all those people go? You know what I'm saying? So that's why I say part of it could be an apparition. And then they were standing, meaning OJ and Lucky were right up under the sign that said up yonder. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like yeah, and it was that sign was purposely shown, you know it was. So like I said, all this is just up for interpretation. So that's another reason why I kind of think it was just an apparition and that it wasn't really him. Let me see, y'all. And then even just even just the way, like I said, she closed her eyes for a long time and then opening, like she was trying to convince herself that she wasn't dreaming. You know what I'm saying? So all of those little things kind of make me feel like maybe he was not really there. And then on the other end of that, on the flip side, you know, part of me feels like he did make it through because, for one, we never really heard, you know, him get ate up. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the things, you know. We could hear like the people when they ate all the people at the lasso event, or we could hear like the horse make the little funny noises, right? Or and then like when they were having like, well, let's say OJ and the horse was on one side, like the entity was in the middle, and then you had M on a motorcycle on the other side. Well, when M ran away, once the motorcycle started, you know, the entity followed her. So it wasn't really on OJ like that for a long time. He kind of distracted it long enough so M could get the motorcycle up and going, and then after that the entity started following her. So another reason why I think that OJ lived. And then again, like the horse Lucky, like Lucky, you know, Lucky was lucky. Going back to their beginning statement, oh, is he lucky? You know, at the beginning part of the movie, yeah, Lucky is lucky. You know, he made it out alive, and he got me here too. You know, basically. So I can see it, like I said, I can see it both ways or whatever. And then, by the end of the movie, you know, they had started calling the entity Jean Jacket. And that kind of reference, if y'all didn't catch that reference from the horse that was promised to M when I think she said she was like 9 years old or something. And that was supposed to be her first horse that her dad was giving her to train, to take hold of, tame it, and train it up, right? And instead it went to OJ to do. And so I think there was like some unresolved issues with that, definitely. But the fact that she didn't get to do that with the jean jacket, the horse, but then at the end, she was able to conquer or tame that entity, which is why they started naming it Jean Jacket. And her brother gave her the opportunity to make things happen, you know, to take control and be able to handle the situation, you know what I'm saying? Because you remember when they did that, you know, so they had shown it when in the flashback when they were younger, and she was standing up in the window watching him being able to train Jean Jacket, and she wasn't. And so there was like a full circle moment. There was actually a lot of full circle moments. So but that was one of them. Like another one was like the fact that another full circle moment, I mean, was the fact that a coin had killed the father, right? Which, like I said, still seemed to have had some unresolved issues with him and the horse and not letting her tame the horse, right? So just at the very end, wait a minute. So he got killed by a corn, and as you know, like OJ even kept the corn, right? He got killed by the corns that had rained down from the entity or Jean Jacket or UAP, whichever one you want to call it, right? And then at the end, another full circle moment was that it was coins that had been rained down from the entity. Hold on, y'all. Okay, I'm back. So it was coins that had been rained down by the entity that actually allowed her to be able to capture the pictures. You know what I'm saying? So that was kind of a full circle moment to, you know, allow her to tame her Jean Jacket. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Okay. Then another thing, so also throughout the movie, as the movie progressed, we learned that there were things that the entity did not like, right? Like metal objects. And that was why you see M steal this horse statue, right? With little flags on it or whatever. And she stole it from Jupe. And she brought it back to the farm or whatever. But she did that to because at this point they had already bought the cameras or whatever. She kind of did that to I guess act as a lure, you know, to lure the entity in, to lure Jean Jacket on in, Jean Jacket the entity that is. And shoot, and it just made that thing angry because he ate it out, and baby, he spit that thing out on that main car so hard. And all OJ could say was nope. But also there was one thing after the entity had eaten everybody at the lasso event, right? And you could see that when OJ went to find Lucky, right? And you could see a pig sitting on top of the roof, right? And it's like, well, how did the darn pig survive it? Y'all, it's the little stuff like this. Like, if you don't know, now you will know. So pigs, they can't look straight up at the sky. Like, they can look up, but only, I think it's like maybe 30, 45 degree angle, maybe. Don't quote me on that. But anyways, I just know they cannot look straight up. So even if they did see the entity, like look the entity in its eye, they could only do it so far before the entity is straight over them and they can no longer see it. so they couldn't look the entity in the eye, right? To get ate up by it. So that's how the darn pig survived. It was sitting there on the roof just like doo 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 doo. But anyway, okay. Okay, so yeah, I just talked about I'm telling y'all, the more I just dissected this movie, the more little nuggets I just came across and thought about. And this movie was just pure genius. Like, even the name, you know how I said, like, there are a lot of things that had, like, double meanings to me. Like, the name did, like, no, I've heard it being said it's not of planet Earth. So, Nope, not of planet Earth, right? And then, but then you see in the movie, like, many a times, like, OJ was like, nope. Nope, not me, because, yeah, like, I just really like this. So, oh, and one thing, too, that I like was how, the entity was actually a living thing and not just a flying saucer, because I never really thought about UFOs in that sense, or aliens, or other life outside of this planet, I guess, in that sense. Like, because what we really found out that at the beginning of the movie, when we would see it, it was always shaped like a saucer with a big opening in the center, which was like an eye or its mouth or whatever, right? But toward the ends, we got to see it shapeshift some. And while I do feel like when it was shaped more like a saucer, it had such a eerie entity, or I mean, not an eerie entity, but like an eerie feel to it. Toward the end, when it started to shape shift, it almost seemed kind of regal, like it spread out, because it was like flowing and like billowing, like in the end, really wispy, and it was just almost just, I don't know, it was just regal and beautiful, and almost like something that was so big and wondrous that it would have just left you in awe, almost like speechless. And I think it kind of tap dances on a fine line of amazement, awe in admiration, and awe in fear. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I just gonna say, I don't want to be sound too preachy or whatever, but kind of like I would imagine finally meeting God, you know, would be just an amazement and awe factor. But this is kind of how this came across. Like, it was just that fine line of, is this fear or is this like admiration type of thing? Like, it was eerily beautiful. How about, yeah, there we go. Because it's, yeah, I'll just say eerily beautiful. But yeah, just the way it was able to shape shift, you know. So let me see. Okay, we already talked about how Ricky Jupe was feeding the entity the horses he was buying. Oh, I got another fun fact, was that Fry's was an actual store. Like, I don't think they still exist, or many still exist, but I know they do, because I remember, like, about, I was gonna say about 10 years ago, but shoot, it may have been a little longer than that, actually. But I bought a laptop online from them one Black Friday. So, but they really did, this store actually did exist. Oh, and then that Angel, he provided, this is another thing too. y'all know Jordan Peele is just really good at promoting people of color, and I love just how he in this movie, like he did, you know, of course he had his people of color, like the main characters, right? And then we had like Angel, the supporting character. We had Jupe. So yeah. But anyway, but Angel was good too. Like he was funny. Like at first I was like, what is this dude doing? But I felt like he was a great add-in, right? But anyways, um, the scene where he wrapped himself in that tarp and that barbed wire, like if that wasn't the smartest thing he could have done, like he knew that thing was gonna spit him back out, and you know what? That's exactly what it did, because you know it couldn't digest all of that, and so that barbed wire saved his life, you know. Um, and then let's talk about this too. Let's talk about the camera guy that they called in. And he had his handheld camera that didn't have to run off electricity, and um and why he, I guess, sacrificed himself for the money shot. You know, it's a different ways you can look at that too. One of the things, like or the money shot, or the impossible shot, that's what he would say, the impossible shot. And he was talking about how how did he say it? The impossible shot, you can never reach it, or oh, we don't deserve the impossible. That's what it was. I know I had written it down somewhere because I'm kind of jumping all over the place. So he said, we don't deserve the impossible, right? And so he had caught it on his handheld camera, right? And then all of a sudden, he takes another camera and he's like, we don't deserve the impossible. And he goes to film himself being sucked up by this entity, right? In a way, I kind of look at that like, that was the impossible shot, right? Just seeing it, okay, awesome. But filming yourself being ate up by this thing, now that's the impossible shot. Because impossible, man, you will never get this shot and live to tell it, right? And so he said we don't deserve the impossible, right? But he knew when he did that, that thing was not gonna be able to digest the film, the camera, or whatever, and would spit it out, which it did. We saw it rolling out when he spit out Angel. But I think in doing that, he knew that he would have to give up something to get that impossible shot, right? So he would not live to get the credit. Will he get the credit? Like, yes, but he would not live to enjoy that. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm sorry. But anyway, so I think that in that moment he just knew that either he get it now or it's not gonna be done. You know, and so he made that decision. And then, and a part of me kind of wondered, like, now, because I was a little sketchy about him. I ain't gonna lie. I was just like, nah, he gonna get this shot and then throw them deuces up at them. Like, no, I got this. This is my footage. Especially when we found out that Angel didn't get it online with the other videos. And we already knew whenever the entity came around, right, the electricity was gonna go down. And so, yeah, I really thought that was his motive. But I don't know. Part of me kind of feels like maybe he knew that if he was gonna get something, that this was gonna be it, or that maybe something else was going around. Because if y'all remember, he was popping them pills, right? And I don't know if they were like pain pills or like anxiety pills that gonna super relax you, so that you be like, okay, whatever, yeah, I'm gonna go stand in the eye of this thing and let it eat me up. But yeah, so it's kind of, that's this, again, so many ways to interpret that. But I definitely think something was up because they just made it such a point to let you know that he was doing it. Cause Angel was looking at them and like, oh, you really popping all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, something was up with that. I still haven't kind of figured it out. Y'all let me know your thoughts, right? Like about everything that I'm talking about. But all the points that I'm pointing out, the things that I don't even mention, because like I said, so many things in this movie. I know there are things that y'all caught that I did not. So, but yeah, let me know your thoughts on that for sure, because I couldn't kind of really grasp that one, but I do know, I did definitely feel like something was up with that. And then, you know, even with how he was reciting, what was the purple eating, is it the purple people eater lyrics? So yeah, that I was gonna tie in some kind of way. I said I was gonna go back and just actually read those lyrics again because I couldn't remember it all, but I do remember how it kind of started like the one eye, one arm, one eye, one arm. And of course there was like a one eye, you know what I'm saying? So whatever the lyrics are, it fit in great with, it was perfect. It was perfect for this movie. Oh, one of the funniest parts of the movies was early on when OJ was in the stable and those kids came dressed in like an alien. Oh, y'all. If I was not jumping, like when we saw that thing, we were like, what? Wait a minute. And then just to find out it was some darn children, the way he popped that boy, he said, boop. Yeah, that was hilarious. So I love like even moments like that. Like you still got chances to laugh and just, you know, man. Let's see. I already talked about how Jupe had that false sense of security. Like I really feel like that's what there was, and that's how the entity ended up gaining the best of him. Talked about the guy sacrificing himself. Okay. Okay. So another a full circle moment I got was um how the guy that was feeding the entity Jupe, you know, he was feeding it at his park. You know, he was feeding the horses to it at his park, right? And guess where the entity was destroyed? So at his park with his balloon, you know, the little balloon, big balloon man is ultimately what destroyed. So we don't know where the entity first came about or when. We can only kind of assume that it had been within the past 6 months when OJ's the senior O had passed, right? Which had been 6 months prior to all of this. So, but we never really get to, you know, again, we never get hard facts, right? So we can only assume that. But anyway, I said it to say, so it seems like Jupe knew about this entity first and what it was. And so he was trying to tame it or control it or whatever. And ultimately, so feeding it, you get the idea that feeding it and stuff was making it stronger, right? And so you come back full circle to the very point where it was being fed and made bigger and more out of control was the place where that it was conquered, basically. So for me, that was kind of another full circle moment, right? In that the well in that same park is actually the one that got the Oprah shot, you know. So because that's kind of where it all started as far as the spectatorship of it all, right? Because we also know that I think Jordan Peele talked about this being like objects and people being made spectacles and not respected for who they are, right? So being made a spectacle and then at the same time coming back and getting that shot at that same place, right? So, and speaking of that, again, so many double meanings. Like I think, like as far as to take away from the whole movie itself, like it told a story of how people of color are treated in Hollywood, and just aren't respected as people and who they are, but more so it's just spectacles. And so, you know, just having to have that respect for things like in the Gordy situation, have to have respect for the animal. And that animal at first was just being treated just as an object, a spectacle, you know, and then something just set it off. Or like when OJ at the beginning of the movie was taking the horse, he was on a television a recording set, and they flashed the mirror of in front of the horse's eye, and it set the horse off because, like he said, they're predators, they're territorial, you know. So that the horse probably saw itself, and they not really knowing it's looking at itself. It's thinking he's looking at another male trying to establish his dominance. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, just having that overarching thing of how people of color are treated in the industry, and not respected when respect should be given. Like I said, the whole overarching thing to me, the takeaway thing from this was respect, RESPECT. You know what I'm saying? So, yep. Oh, and even with that, another thing, cause I written this down too, was like, and I guess this could be considered too another full circle moment, like how at the very beginning, like let's say when OJ and M were on the set telling the people the rules, and M was telling them about how the first motion picture on a horse was a black man. People knew the horse's name, but did not know the black man's name, right? Because, again, just looked at as a spectacle, nothing important, not as a human. You know, the horse got more recognition than that black man that was riding the horse did, right? And then even in like mid movie, M made the comment about they want to erase us, we want to be erased this time, you know. And then at the end, getting her Oprah shot, that impossible shot, and now her name will forever be put into history. Like her name and who she is, she will be getting that acknowledgement, you know. So yeah. So whereas like her great grandfather did not, you know. So another full circle moment. And it's just always being like how people of color versus their other counterparts have always had to think smarter and work harder to get to a point to where they are, or maybe not even as far as they are, because sometimes we still are just not given the opportunity to be in same situations that they are. So that side thing or concurrent thing of exploitation versus respect. You know what I'm saying? If you get me. And so yeah, like y'all, you gotta look at this on the surface, and then you gotta go with it a little deeper, like, because that's one thing I love about Jordan, like his movie Us and Get Out. Like, yeah, you can't just go in with a surface level thinking, like, because you're gonna miss so much more, and how much more the movies are can bring to you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you gotta go a little deeper. And then Oprah was referenced sometimes, several times, and I feel like this was because she is one of the people of color, one of the few people of color that made it far, did well, and this was early on, like especially not in today's term. But not only was she a person of color, but she was also a woman, so she was being in a minority ship two different ways, and she overcame a lot of those. But you know, she was mentioned with the impossible shot, the Oprah shot, right? So that's where she was referenced. And then with Jupe's child co-star, now that you saw her at the Lasso event, she was the one with the mango face that had the veil over her eyes. Well, that referenced a true story where a woman had been mangled by a chimpanzee, and she wore a veil over her face like that because it had been all messed up. And guess who got the interview though? Oprah. So yeah, I think in that turn, you know, Oprah was put out there to show that, hey, even though we have been treated this way, you know, we have been exploited, but we're doing things. We're doing big things, and that we can do them. You know what I'm saying? So my people of color, don't give up, you know. All right. Anyways. Uh hmm. Anyways, I think y'all that's about it. Seems like I've kind of touched on all of this. Again, I just got down here like at the end. It was very pretty and it didn't look as menacing. But nevertheless, we do know that it was. So y'all, please, y'all comment, tell me what you got from it, because I'm so amped about this movie. I actually think I want to go see it one more time, y'all. But because I know I'm gonna pick up on some more stuff, and I'm just gonna be so interested in hearing from you all and see what you all got from it and what y'all can tell me. Maybe different spins and views on my thoughts as well. So until next time, I will see you all later. And if y'all enjoyed this little tidbit, we could do another movie review like this again. Like I said, it was just kind of something impromptu because I just got so hyped over the movie and I just needed somebody to talk to and discuss it with. So we can definitely do this again. I may be going to see the little, what is it, the Black Phone, right? So I think that's kind of a thriller as well. So we could definitely talk about that too. But anyways, until next time, y'all, I pray for you, you pray for me, and we're gonna what? Bye.